What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel and more SPQR coverage. We have more for you here with our review of the updates to the factions. So we've covered Athens and Britain so far. Today we're going to be taking a look at Caesar's Legion for you guys and really getting through and showing you guys the differences from the old edition to the new one. So we'll start off with the special rule for the army here, the Medicus support, which has actually stayed the same. So very easy there, so nothing new on that front. However, as we've seen so far, the heroes have all undergone some significant changes here. So stat-wise, everything has stayed the same. However, base cost for the hero is 10 points cheaper. Then we get into the equipment options. The large shield has gone up by 3. Cuirass has decreased by 1. Chain shirt has decreased by 4. The pilum has gone up by 1. And then dagger has stayed the same. Sword has come down a point. Interestingly, that the hero here for the Romans can buy himself a standard, but that has decreased from 25 to 5. So again, that seems pretty typical so far across the factions. And then the horse has also come down 10 points. The special rule, the hero of Rome, has also stayed the same. So the interesting thing here is basically if you go large shield and cuirass, currently in the new edition that'll run you 22 points. Before that was 20. So that option is a little bit more expensive. However, if you wanted to go now with a large shield and chainmail shirt, that would run you 24, whereas before that would be 25. So there is a discount there if you go with that kit. And of course, like we said, the sword being a pretty typical option there is also 1 point cheaper overall. Plus, again, you're factoring in the base cost of the hero coming down a fair bit as well. So again, pretty decent set of options here for the hero, and really, again, whether you want to go on foot or mounted, you'll do fine either way. So again, overall, just significant discount there. The cavalry here for Caesar's Legion has base cost has risen by 2 points, and as we've seen with pretty much every minion unit, the melee dice has just come down to 1 per model. Bravery still at 2. Armor, you'll see that as different from before, and that is basically because mounted troops no longer just get an extra armor for being mounted. So basically, it's whatever armor the rider is actually carrying, unless you do add barding, where it's available to the cavalry, to the horse itself. But yeah, so that is one big change, which we'll be covering in the equipment sections when we review that. But still 2 wounds for being mounted. So let's see, equipment that they came with. So chainmail shirt, horse, small shield, short spear, and sword. That is all the same. So again, quite a bit of gear there. And 30 points is pretty easy to remember as a point value too, so not that big of a deal that that's actually gone up. The horn is still 10 points, and the standard, of course, has come down like it has with everything else from 25, where it wasn't always like a great option, to just 5 points, where it's certainly well worth taking now. And hit and run, again, still has an option there. So overall, still the same old cavalry unit that you were using before, but just a slight points tweak there. Really, 2 points isn't going to make or break anything. And again, with everything else being in line, and the fact that minion units, I should say, are coming down in the number of melee dice that they throw, that will keep them on pace with everybody else. And the fact, again, that they do come with all that kit already is pretty good. So, and really, I wouldn't be overly concerned with them basically going from where they had +4 armor before, which was kind of ridiculous, almost more like cataphracts, while still retaining some speed, to here the more sort of standardized and updated thing where, again, you don't get an extra armor just for being mounted anymore, because just making too many, before it was really just making too many cavalry units have better saves than really they should have. But in this new edition, so they'll still have +3 armor, which is still fantastic. So, so overall, just a great cavalry unit. Not going to be, the best in the entire game. Certainly, there's other sort of more top tier cavalry, but again, just as part of that overall Roman or piece in the Roman sort of war machine here for your Caesar Legion forces, you can't go wrong with the cavalry. So they will definitely do work for you. Alrighty, guys, moving on to the Legionary and really your main core unit, if unless you're going like mainly cavalry focused. So still rocking at 24 denarii a piece here. Again, melee dice have come down, but everything else has essentially stayed the same. And still coming standard with the chainmail shirt, large shield, and sword. So equipment options here. Pila have stayed at 3 denarii each. Something worth considering. Slings. Um, if you really wanted to go that route and make this your ranged unit, have actually gone up a point because so many people were fielding legionaries with slings before. I feel like unless you're just really desperate for something aside from the Scorpion teams or mercenaries for your ranged abilities, I guess it's something to consider. But again, super expensive option there. But might be worth considering in some small units in larger games or something like that. But again, there's just other ways of getting ranged, and if it has to be on mercenaries or something, that's just the way it's going to have to be. The horn still stays at 10, but again, the standard has come down from 25 to 5, and then basically shield wall has changed slightly just because again the whole parry system is gone. Let me just read this for you guys here. So the Legionaries of Rome were taught to fight together as a tight unit. So as long as there's 10 or more models in this unit, they're all in base contact with each other. Basically, enemy units get -1 to their melee checks during melee actions, which is a huge buff actually. So the parry before was just a reroll, and you still might end up getting hit. But here, just having a straight up -1 debuff to enemies as long as you maintain your shield wall is huge. So this legionaries have gone up in usefulness and effectiveness, I would say, there. So definitely also a bigger incentive for keeping those larger units. So again, you're going to most likely be outnumbered and probably just have fewer units to move around. But that being said, now I think they'll function a little bit more like they probably should, where it's just going to be really tough to outlast them or outfight them as long as they're maintaining those numbers. So they don't have to have some of the restrictions that like a phalanx or something does too, as far as like facings. It's a great added ability there. Testudo, on the other hand, I believe has also essentially stayed the same here. But let's see here. Double check real quick for you guys. Let's see. Yeah, reduced movement. Yep, we know that. And let's see here. And -1 to so that's changed a little bit there too. So basically, again, rather than forcing enemies to reroll ranged attacks, reroll armor against ranged attacks, just again, it's a debuff to ranged attacks. So overall, again, just if you really want to turtle up and sort of go all defense, these legionary units are going to be a tough nut to crack as long as you have the bodies still to support that. So depending on the game size and things like that, ideal unit size is tough to say, but you're gonna have to expect some casualties here and there, and you don't always necessarily want to be in Testudo because that will start limiting your movement and your facings and all that. That being said, probably seems like 15 or so, depending again on game size and how many units you really do want to have, is probably a decent starting point, because again, you got to expect a few casualties, and then you still want to have bodies and throw a decent amount of dice when you're in combat itself. So, but overall, pretty cool buff there for the Legionary. So again, very strong, definitely top tier frontline infantry unit now. Or more so even than they were before. Scorpio team has come down a massive 6 points. Again, personal opinion on these, your experiences may vary. I've never found them to be all that really interesting. Mainly just because of that range +1. So, they have a nice range, but if you're shooting at long range and just assuming there's no cover and you have that long of a sight line, you're still getting that -1 for shooting at long range, so you're needing a 6. How many 6s are you really going to roll over the course of let's say like a 6-turn or so game? And if you do happen to find yourself at short range, great, you're still hitting on 5s. how many times are you really connecting throughout a game, and then are they then really causing enough damage to really warrant their points? I feel like almost give me 3 more legionaries to add to a unit, and I think they'll probably do more throughout the game. But again, opinions vary, and there are some ways I think of getting around that. But the fact also that these guys are shooting essentially once a turn, right? Because you have to spend a special and then shoot, and lethal 3 and smasher is nice and all that, but and also the D3 wounds thing, wonderful, but um, it's there's just not enough quantity of shooting or damage output, and really, if you to mitigate that, if you're taking like 3 or 4 of these, that's just hundreds of points then spent on that. And again, how many times a game are you really getting hits and causing enough damage to really warrant that? Now, I feel like these would be nice against things that would be considered like large. So going like elephant hunting with these a little bit and stuff like that. That could be interesting, but I just feel like they needed a little bit more of a points reduction. But again, let me know how you guys have fared with these, whether it's from the Caesar's Legion list or the Imperial Roman list. Just where do you guys put these in your lists, if at all? What have you done with them? And again, there's of course things we can do with heroes and stuff, adding them into the unit. I think to make them better. But again, now you're investing more points. So just let us know in the comments, guys. What do you think about the Scorpio teams? And what would you maybe suggest would be a good way to change them? Have you house ruled them? Have you done anything else? Very eager to hear about that from you guys. All right, guys, then taking a look at the mercenary options. So I believe these have all essentially stayed the same. So again, we get Britain, Gaul, and Germania, and then the true mercenaries there. The Balearic slingers still the same, Cretan archers, Gay Santos, and then the Numidian option. So we still have that. All right. Then we move on into our heroes of legend here. So Caesar, of course, was already pretty good before. Not necessarily like a combat monster or anything like that to fear, but just useful overall and has a lot of abilities. So he was 180 denarii before, has dropped down to 159, which is like such a weird number. Like just make him 160. So I don't know. Sometimes with some of these points changes, some things just do seem a little bit weird. Stat wise, everything I believe has stayed the same, although it looks like he has gained an armor. So we'll have to see if that's actually consistent, which it may or may not be. So let's see here. So he has a cuirass, which should be +3 if I'm not mistaken. Still the horse and the sword. So here it seems like they're adding the horse armor buff. So again, that may be something that gets FAQ'd or needs to be FAQ'd, but at least from what I've seen so far, again, the horse does not grant you that just bonus armor anymore, and there's no barding or anything on that. So, and again, very certain that cuirass is still a +3, so take that with a grain of salt there. That might get FAQ'd. Battlefield control, divine luck, inspire and elevate, loyal bodyguard, motivation, voice of command. So that all has remained the same. And then his ability is essentially unchanged there. So really good stuff there. And that's really the whole tactical mastery thing there is a brutal thing that Caesar just can inflict upon you. So he will do decently in a fight, but you don't want to leave him alone. He's only a level 5 hero, and yeah, he has really great bravery and all that, which is what you really should be using him for, to spread his leadership around. But just still just the 2 melee dice, right? So just average in combat at best. So we certainly want to maybe pair or surround him with a couple of lower level heroes that can then sort of intercept enemy heroes gunning for him, or move out and sort of get in the way of other things coming his way. So, but overall, pretty good there on Caesar. Alrighty, guys, moving on to the other heroes here. So we got Pompey next, and he has dropped from 130 to 103. And again, just minor gripe here, but again, these weird point values, make them 100 or 105. Like keep it in intervals of 5. Some of these point values are just a little bit weird. But anyway, stat-wise, I believe everything has essentially stayed the same for him there. Just double checking. Yep. Inspire, Loyal Bodyguard, Motivation, Voice of Command, that's all the same. He has a cuirass, a horse, and a sword. And here the armor is listed properly. So again, cuirass giving you +3, horse is no longer giving you a buff just for being on a horse. And again, Poppy's ability here has changed slightly, so we will read that for you guys here verbatim. So he has deep pockets and willing to spend it on capable allies. If a warband wins a battle with him in it, he will spend a fortune to see it enjoys continued success. So in a campaign game, at the end of the battle, the warband will immediately receive an additional 200 denarii, whereas before it was the warband will immediately receive an amount of denarii equal to half the denarii value of the enemy warband that has just been beaten. So again, I like that change. They're just keeping it simple and not forcing you to do any like math every time you use him or something. So just make it a standard number, and 200 denarii is pretty good there. So I like that change. Again, about the only thing I would really fix here was just make him like 105 points, and just make it simple to factor him into a list there. So, but overall, really liking the changes to Poppy. Alrighty, guys, we continue on with more. Again, Caesar's Legions has like the longest list of heroes of all the factions here. So we move on to Crassus again, and Crassus has seen a huge point drop, guys. He has gone from 225 down to 120 denarii, so that's a solid chunk shaved off of his points there. Still pretty beastly in combat, +4, 3 melee dice, agility is the same, bravery is the same, armor is the same, and 6 wounds, so he's a beast. And again, a pretty nasty set of talents there. So Blade Master, Dirty Fighting, Divine Luck ×2, Knockdown, Lethal Blade, Mighty Blow, and Voice of Command, and Wall of Iron. And he's just got a cuirass and a sword. He's just a badass. He doesn't even need a shield. That's just how nasty he's going to be. But his special rule here, let's take a quick look and see how that has changed, if it's changed. So before any melee checks are made during a melee action involving him, he can choose to remove any number of melee dice from his melee dice pool in order to give his sword the lethal trait with a value equal to the melee dice he removed on a 1-for-1 basis here, which that is brand new essentially, guys. So before it was before any melee checks involving Crassus, he can choose to just cancel out any number of opponent's parries by expending his own. So again, the whole parry mechanic essentially having disappeared. So there's none of that re-rolling really anymore like it was before. So in that sense, again, a lot of things have changed, and we saw that again with the Roman legionaries really getting just solid buffs on melee and shooting. And here, this is pretty nasty too. Whereas before he was essentially giving up melee dice to essentially take away from his opponent's defense here, here now he's doing it, or taking away the parry rolls from the opponent on a 1-to-1 basis. Here, though, he can basically give up a little bit of offense to make his sword hurt more, essentially, or punch through armor. So as need be, he's already got Lethal Blade, which is great. But against those opponents who do have that much extra armor, maybe he might consider giving up 1 dice to add another lethal to his sword, just to push that extra wound through. And really, if he really has to put that last wound on somebody, he's still hitting on +4. So unless they have a way to debuff that, he can go down to 1 melee dice. And if he hasn't burned his Divine Luck yet, basically he's still hitting on 2s, and then he's going to be like lethal 4, essentially, which really should take away just about anybody's armor save. So really good stuff there on Crassus. All right, checking in with Mark Antony, and again, he has seen a gigantic decrease. Again, these weird points, though, 89 points, just make him 90. But he's gone from 175 down to 89, guys. So again, steep discount. And let's see here, still +3 with 3 dice, 1, 3, and armor 3, and 5 wounds still. Darting Blade, Shield Bash, Shield Wall, Wall of Iron, so all that's the same, and Cuirass and Sword again. And here, let's double check Pluto's Arse. So let's see, if any unit in Mark Antony's warband fails a will to fight check within 12 of him, instead of models being removed from the table, the unit performs an immediate and free move action. They must move as close to him as possible, and this will count as fleeing from close combat. However, any casualties gained from this will not cause another will to fight check. That is basically the same. I think they've just slightly cleaned up the wording, although it looks pretty close to the same as before. So, still the same, basically, just super cheap discount now. So again, he's like half as expensive as he was before. So before, I was kind of on the fence as far as his worth and taking it. 175 denarii, 89. He's a bit of a steal now. So good stuff there. So we got a couple more heroes to get through, guys. Alrighty, guys, we get to the end here towards the last two heroes. So again, we get Varanus and Pulo from the TV show, the Rome show, um, and basically more or less still the same. But again, they've seen some discounts here. So Varanus has gone down 20 denarii, so good stuff there. Basically, same stats as before. Again, these guys are low level heroes, but Darting Blade, Shield Bash, Shield Wall, and Wall of Iron. And this guy does sport Chainmail, Large Shield, and Sword. Um, so, and as before, basically any unit he leads rerolls failed bravery check. So again, just straight up discount overall. So again, if you were taking him before, so you certainly would want to take him now with that discount. And if you weren't before, it might be worth considering. And then Pulo again has actually, out of all the guys, he's actually gone up 6 denarii to 81. Again, just make them 80 or 85 or something. Some of these weird denarii numbers are just kind of annoying. But stat wise, everything's basically the same. Dirty fighting, yep. Divine luck and piercing thrust. And also chain shirt, large shield and sword. And then let's see, heroic rashness. Yeah, he's still basically forced to challenge. So, yep, that has not changed either. So, for some reason, he has gone up 6 denarii. And again, he's just a level 2 named hero. Is he really worth his points? I don't know. I wasn't one to run him before, but with the increase in points to him, I don't know. May or may not be worth it. I don't know. Let us know in the comments, guys, on that one. But just weird that he would actually go up in points and not really get any other anything else to really justify that, I think. But again, we still need to get games in and see how all this plays out in actual games, not just on paper here. But yeah, that is basically everything for Caesar's Legion, guys. So again, lots of discounts all over the place, especially on the named heroes. Again, just Legionaries getting that basic that buff now and kind of just simplifying things really makes them really premier like they ought to be, and really does give the faction overall a little bit of a buff, just because again, unit selection wise, there really wasn't much. It's basically the Legionaries, the Cavalry, and Scorpios, unless you just want to load up on lots of heroes and stuff too. And really, if you wanted to bring the quantity on a lot of times, or even really any other missile support, really the best option was going mercenaries, which you may not always want to do, or if you just don't have the models for it, right? So again, overall, just really good, and really loving the changes to the Legionary. Cavalry, I think, should still be pretty good. Again, just a minor points adjustment there, but they already come loaded with good stuff. And aside from, I guess, just that inconsistency there with the stats on Caesar, again, guys, I feel like that would be getting FAQ'd at some point, but just to point it out to you, he really should be at +3, not +4, if they're following the trend from before, where, again, horses do not confer that extra armor anymore. So the other character, Pompey, had it correct, but Caesar again did not. So just minor things there, but overall pretty good. I think really the only thing that needed some sort of actual increase to really justify wanting to take it, or certainly multiples, would have been the Scorpio team. But again, let us know in your comments, guys, what your experience has been. Just my personal thoughts and experience. I haven't found them to be overly useful. But sometimes people do get focus on them too much when they should be focusing on more dangerous things in the army, and sometimes that can be a good distraction. But nonetheless, let us know, guys, what your thoughts are overall on Caesar's Legions, and how you've played them. How do you build your forces? What kind of mercenaries do you pack in? What are your preferred special characters or named characters? Let us know, guys. Really looking forward to your thoughts on that. Hit us up with a like and subscribe as well if you haven't already. We got plenty more SPQR coverage coming for you guys. But all those likes and comments and subscribes, that all helps the channel grow. Also, if you want to support us even more, check out the link in the description. And if you guys head over to Warlord from there and pick up anything, that will help support us as well. In the meantime, again, thanks so much for stopping by, guys. Hope you enjoyed the video, and we'll see you in the next one.